Okay, hi everyone. I just thought it'd be a good idea to make a short video about getting started with feeding wild birds, ranging from the sorts of feeds you can have to the actual bird feeders. So what I thought I'd start with first of all is what I think is the best thing to get started with is just a mixed seed. This has probably got about 8 types of different seed in it, and if you're watching this in the UK, this is quite a cheap food for us because we can grow this in the UK, or in any other country that you may be watching it. This is probably a cheapish food for you to use because you can grow it in your own country. Peanuts are more sort of location specific to parts of the globe that are warm enough to grow peanuts basically. So this is what I would recommend. It's just a wild bird seed. You can get this in most pet stores or online, loads of places. We've even toyed with the idea of making a sort of mix ourselves and selling that, but maybe that's for the future. The good thing about this is it's got several applications. You can throw it on the ground, so let's say you don't want a bird feeder or you can't afford one at the moment. You can just buy some of this in a small bag, a couple of kilos, throw it on the ground nearby a window where you can watch it, and you can actually just watch the birds land and feed around there. If not, if you want to buy a feeder, this is a relatively cheap little plastic feeder. This is for seed, so it has ports, little ports here that you can see, and you fill the tube up, and then the birds come and sit there and peck and take the seed out of the ports, and that's the correct kind of sort of hanging dispenser for it. You can have cheap ones like that, or quite elaborate ones like this. This is quite a nice galvanised triple feeder, and you can actually adjust on this one, you can adjust the flow rate. I've got a little turning valve there, and I can adjust the amount of seed that I want dispensed out of that particular port. So that's quite a nice way again. So that's all from just the basic seed. And I say it's quite cost effective and cheap. And here is a seed feeder again, but this one is protected against squirrel attack. So you can basically see unprotected plastic, protected. Again, it depends on the area you live in. If you've got a squirrel problem like we have, you need these. So that's seed. Now the other one I was going to show you is this sort of thing, suet balls, fat balls, these high energy little ball things. They love these. They seem to go absolutely nuts for these. I never fail to feed the tons of birds with these things. They can either go into a feeder, just a little caged feeder, or you can hang those out on their own like that, put a little hook in it and just hang it up, and they love those, and they're again a really high energy food for the birds. Very, very popular, and again they're not too expensive. You can get a great big tub like this. I think it weighs about 5 or 10 kilograms, something like that. I think it's about £10. It's pretty cheap, and they'll last you quite a while. One of the more expensive ones is peanuts. So these are just peanuts. Now the thing with peanuts is they're great, the birds love them, but unlike the seed and unlike the fat balls, these have to be dispensed in the correct way. So these have to go in a feeder. If you put peanuts on a bird table, not in a feeder, the little fledglings can actually choke on them, and it's just not recommended. So the birds will actually peck away at the feeder and break the nut up, so they only get it in small sections. And just before, this is an unprotected seed feeder, and as you can see, it's just a mesh, a galvanised mesh. And just like Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. As the lid falls off. And this is a protected feeder. Again, you've got a galvanised mesh inside with the outer ribbing, which is incredibly strong to protect from squirrel attack, which is pretty ferocious. So that's your three main types of feed that I would recommend. You can have lots of different feed, like Niger seeds and all sorts of different things that will attract more specific birds. But if you're new to it, my recommendation is choose any one of these 3 feeding or feeds, because they'll attract a really broad variety of species basically. But my recommendation is, if you can't afford a feeder, just go with some seed. You only need a little plate or a table, and you can put it on that, and the birds can feed away to their heart content. But in an ideal world, yes, I'd probably like a seed feeder. And another thing that's really important when you start off, if you've got the space, it's often quite good to have two separate feeding areas. What you'll sometimes find is that bigger birds will try and dominate one table or one feeding station. If there's two, they find it more difficult to dominate, so the little guys get to have a chance. But that's in an ideal world. So those are my recommendations for getting started. Keep it easy, keep it simple, don't go too mad, but choose one of those three types. You won't go wrong, and you will attract a complete wide variety of birds, and I think you'll be pretty happy. Okay, bye now.